Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I want to talk about another lens, a Leica lens to be exact. For the last week I've been shooting around here with the Leica 35 Summicron APO L mount, so made for the SL line of cameras. As you guys know who've watched me regularly, I love the Leica SL series of cameras. To me, they are just cameras from Leica that offer everything I need, at least, and they're beautiful designs built to a high standard and provide beautiful image quality. I recently reviewed the 24-70 f2.8 Vario Elmerit. You can see that review on this channel, and I compared it against the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 as well. But today I want to talk about the 35 Summicron. Now, the 35 Summicron is a lens that I've shot in M mount numerous times. While I have not tried the newer M mount APO version of the 35 Summicron, the original 35 f2 spherical Summicron has been one of those lenses that, since its inception, since it was created, people have raved about, saying, and they used to say many years ago, that that was one of the best 35mm lenses ever made. The only issue with that lens is it's manual focus only, and it's designed for M-mount cameras, so it really performs its best on a Leica M body or the Leica SL. But the SL has its own range of lenses in the L-mount lineup, and all of these lenses are autofocus capable. That means they all have autofocus, and in particular this 35 Summicron APO f2 lens for the L-mount also is weather sealed and has some exotic glass and coatings on it to provide probably some of the best image quality you can find in a 35mm lens of any brand or any make. Now, what I've seen with the Leica 35 SL Summicron, it's not a perfect lens, and there is a one little flaw that I've found that is not a big deal to me and most people who will use this lens, but I'll talk about it in a little bit. This lens is for those who own an SL body and want to have a Leica lens to match their body, but also have top quality in the realm of 35mm lenses. Now, I've been blessed and lucky enough to shoot many exotic 35mm lenses in my lifetime. Favorites that are just off the top of my head: the 35mm Zeiss ZM f1.4 lens is astonishing. To me, it offers a different look, but just as good. It's competitive with the more expensive Leica 35 f1.4 Summilux. It's M-mount, it's manual focus, but it's such a gorgeous lens. I reviewed the Zeiss, talked about it at my website when it came out. I'll link to that in the description below, and all of these lenses I talk about, I'll link to their reviews in the description if you want to check them out. Another 35mm lens I loved over the last 10 years or so, we'll talk, has been the Sony 35mm f1.4 Zeiss. If you shoot Sony, that lens to me was top of the heap, cream of the crop for Sony, and I even kind of still prefer it a little bit to their G Master version, which I also talked about not so long ago. Why would I want something like the 35 Summicron SL that comes in at $5,200? Well, it comes down to this: the image quality, the color performance, the fact that it's autofocus, the fact that it's in the Summicron line for the SL, which are the smallest native L-mount lenses that Leica makes. They're built to a high standard, they're bulletproof, they're very solid, and again, the image quality and color is above all the others that I have tried in my lifetime when it comes to a 35mm lens. Now, being an APO design, that means the lens is really excellent without the camera having to apply a bunch of corrections to it to fix the distortions or issues. Just like the Leica 50 APO was on the M240 that I reviewed and on the SL, this lens reminds me a lot of that lens, which provides a smooth, medium format kind of vibe. But the color, the way the image is rendered to where it's sharp across the frame, but yet it still appears to be buttery smooth. The way the bokeh is so feathery and smooth and luscious and dreamlike from a 35mm lens. Those are the things you get with the Leica 35mm Summicron APO lens on the SL. Now, this is the thing. The lens is $5,200, and you can get one of 50 other 35mm lenses, the same focal length, for much, much less. But as I wrote in the written review of this lens, I used to always search for the inexpensive bargain, the deal, right? I would have my Leica camera or whatever camera, Sony even, and I would go in search of lenses that would cost the least amount of money on many occasions because I failed, or I did not want to accept the fact that paying thousands of dollars for a lens would bring me more personal satisfaction. So I would buy these cheap lenses and then I'd realize, well, this is not the look I wanted. This is not really the color performance that I wanted. And I'd buy another cheap lens. And before you know it, I've spent as much on cheap lenses as I would have if I'd bought the Leica lens or the good lens, the lens I wanted in the first place, no matter the brand. I would buy and sell and lose money in the process and end up with a lens that I wasn't fully happy with. I've seen the output of all the Summicron line. I've handled a couple of them and they all look beautiful. But this is the first one I've actually had on my camera and shot with, and it was a dream to use. The autofocus is quick, but it's not blazing. We all know the limitations of the SL2 autofocus. But for photo taking, it is no issue. It's perfect. It's quick. It's instant. You're not going to shoot sports with a Leica SL2 and a 35 Summicron. But anything else, it'll focus on no problem. I did not miss focus on one shot during my review process. So that's pretty amazing. It might be a little slower than a Sony or Canon, but it's deadly accurate, and that's what matters. The 35 SL, again, is weather sealed. It has tremendous bokeh quality, tremendous color. It fits like a glove on the SL2S. It balances really well on the SL2S. It's even smaller than the 24-70 f2.8 zoom, which is pretty remarkable, especially when getting this kind of quality. The Summicron with a Leica body just fits so well, looks so well, handles so well, and performs so well, and the camera will apply any corrections. It actually applies a correction to the files for vignetting, at least I know that, because without the corrections there is some slight vignetting, but if you shoot an SL body you don't have to worry about it because the corrections are already applied. The one little thing I found with this lens that kind of irked me a little bit for the price point, and it's not even a big deal, but I have to mention it. When the camera's focusing, or say it's hunting on something, in low light it will hunt a little bit, it'll make like a little grinding noise when it's focusing, right? And Leica says this is totally normal. It's how the lens operates. Just as some Canon EF lenses, say on the EOS R for example, make that grinding noise, especially when you're shooting video and it's trying to keep focus. It's like, I can't even replicate it, but the Leica does the same thing. If it's hunting or doing continuous autofocus, it kind of makes a little grating noise. And that shouldn't be normal for a lens with the Leica name on it, or a lens that costs $5,200. But that's the only niggle, the only complaint I had with this lens. If you own an SL and you want the best 35mm native lens for it, without question, the SL35 APO is the one to get. Now you could look at the Leica M35 APO, but that's even more money at $88 or $80 some $100, and it's manual focus only, much smaller, and you can use that on the SL with the Leica M adapter and get gorgeous results as well. But for over $3,000 less, you can have a native autofocus lens that provides just as beautiful of an image quality. This is one of those lenses that 10 years from now people will look back on and say, man, that Leica 35 APO for the SL was a gorgeous lens, is a gorgeous lens. This is one of those lenses that will go down in history as one of the greats for Leica. Now, as far as some of the specs, let me read off some of the specs here from a list I have. It's designed for full-frame Leica L-mount mirrorless cameras. It can also be used with APS-C, so something like the Leica CL. It will provide a 52.5 millimeter equivalent focal length. 5 aspherical elements are used to reduce distortion and spherical aberrations for improved sharpness and accurate rendering. This lens has an apochromatic design, which employs anomalous partial dispersion glass to suppress chromatic aberrations throughout the aperture range for increased color accuracy and clarity. This basically means you're not going to get any digital nasties and side effects in your photos. Back in the early days of digital, we'd always see that chromatic aberration and the purple fringing that would show up in highlights. Those days are pretty much gone, but this lens corrects for it in the lens itself. It's not correcting for that in the body. Multi-layer coatings have been applied to individual elements to suppress surface reflections, flare, and ghosting for increased contrast and color fidelity. And you can tell because when you shoot this lens, it has a really nice contrast, right? It has bite, it has depth. It's not one of those washed out low contrast lenses. This is a medium to medium high contrast lens. And on a body like the SL2S, it's perfect because this is a body that I've never been able to blow a highlight on due to the tremendous dynamic range. So it's a perfect match for the SL bodies. A dual synchro drive stepping motor delivers quick, precise, and near silent autofocus to suit both photo and video applications. Now I'll complain a little bit about that. If you're using continuous focus, as I've talked about with video, you're going to hear some noise. It will transfer to the audio unless you're using a lav mic that's external or something like that. The lens is not silent when it's doing continuous autofocus, but it does focus pretty quick and it's very accurate. A water repellent aqua dura coating has been applied to the front and rear optical surfaces to protect against moisture and other elements. This has actually been done on the lens elements themselves. And finally, the whole lens is weather sealed, and it protects against dust and moisture to benefit working in inclement shooting conditions. So I have it right here. This is the 35 millimeter APO Summicron without the hood. This whole package is not that huge, right? It actually looks and feels really well on the camera. If I had the hood back on, it does increase the size a bit, but overall as a package, this just feels amazing in the hand and in use. It feels better than the 24-70, heaps better than the 24-90, a ton better than the 50 Summilux, which is like a bazooka. SL50 Summilux I'm referring to, not the M. The Summicron line from Leica for the SL is a perfect set of primes, as close to perfect as one can get, because there really is no perfect lens. And the reason there's no perfect lens is because we all have our own ideas of what perfect is, right? Some people prefer ultimate sharpness as being their perfection. I prefer ultimate character to be my perfection. So there's no perfect lens for any one person, but this lens will offer you the best image quality I've seen in a 35 for the SL. Beautiful bokeh, amazing color, and a rock solid bulletproof lens that'll last you a lifetime if you so desire to keep it that long. If you have an SL and you have the funds and you're looking for the best 35, I highly recommend this lens without question. But you know, you really can't say anything bad about Leica lenses because they know how to make lenses. Whether you're looking at a lower cost Elmerit or something like the 90 f1.5 Summilux or the 75 Summilux, those exotic designs, all their lenses have something special about them. Not only the name, the heritage, the design, the feel, the color. There's just something special about Leica glass. And you know, sometimes in life you got to pay for those kind of things. And in this case, the Summicron is, I believe it's just under 5,200. So it's worth it if you can swing it and you want the best 35. That's all I have to say. Fantastic lens. And if you enjoyed this look at the Leica lens, give a thumbs up and subscribe. I thank you all. I love you all. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.